desert in the great American Southwest. I'm Art Bell.
Slamming into your radio like a supercharged nanoparticle of unobtainium. My name is George Knapp.
I'm Richard Serrett.
This is Connie Willis.
I'm George Norrie. Welcome to Coast AM.
It's great to be here.
Welcome to Coast PM, the number one unofficial Coast to Coast AM podcast. We are two brothers who analyze the world's largest overnight paranormal radio show known as Coast to Coast AM. My name is Paul. I'm the one that listens to this inexplicable radio show here with my brother.
Hey, it's Chris, and I sure am excited for another exciting episode of Coast to Coast PM.
I am too, Chris, especially because we missed a week.
Yes, we did.
And we had many concerned coasternauts reach out saying, hey, what's going on?
We're okay. We're okay.
I think that was the first time that we didn't drop anything, though, for a week. We usually at least will drop an old episode.
Yeah, that was our bad.
Well, we're here, and we're excited to be here, Chris, because today we're going to be talking about Connie Willis's interview with Nancy Thames from March 10th, 2024.
All right, and what are we going to be talking about?
Nancy is a former DoD employee and abductee experiencer. So we are going to hear all about her experiences being abducted by aliens constantly, which will be very exciting.
Constantly being... That's the thing about these abductees, it seems like, is that when you are abducted, it happens all the time once it starts.
Yeah, which is why I get mad. Because I would just like to get abducted once. I don't even want to get a lifetime of abductions. So let me borrow one. Well, before we get to any of that, Chris, we got to go check in with our good friend Tim Banal at the Coast to Coast AM blog.
Tim time.
Today's article: a bizarre banana fight breaks out at a Pennsylvania gas station.
Dude, I've been in so many banana fights. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, not your first rodeo here.
We're talking about gay sex.
From the article. A Pennsylvania gas station was recently the site of a bizarre banana fight that turned into a brawl that ultimately left one man in the hospital and another behind bars.
Good Lord in heaven. So they start with the bananas and then it escalates. I wonder if it's like a slow escalation to weapons or how it happened, but maybe Timmy goes into it.
Let's find out. According to a local media report, the truly weird incident unfolded on Monday at a Sunco in the city of Pittsburgh. While working at the gas station that day, Yubaraj Budhathoki's shift was suddenly interrupted by a banana-wielding customer who charged into the store and pelted the employees with the fruit.
He came in with the banana expecting to throw it at somebody.
I was sort of expecting him to have taken bananas from the gas station because the gas stations here do sell fruit. Do your gas stations have fruit?
Yeah, there's some bad bananas and a couple of apples and maybe an orange.
Yeah. So I guess he came in ready, like locked and loaded with bananas. Somehow, more bananas wound up in the mix, and a full-blown food fight erupted between the workers and the unnamed man until the strange skirmish took a decidedly darker turn. According to the police, the customer who initiated the banana brouhaha proceeded to punch Budhathoki in the face before smartly fleeing the store.
He threw the banana at the man, then punched him in the face?
See, this was smart. Distraction technique. It's like throwing sand in someone's eyes, then you knock them.
The banana, dude, that's a strange choice. But, I guess you got to go with what you got. We are creatures of ingenuity.
We are indeed. However, authorities say his getaway was not quite quick enough, as the clerk caught up with the man and laid the proverbial smackdown on him with a PVC pipe.
Oh my God, dude. These are all strange weapons to be using. Bananas, PVC pipe. You didn't have anything better than that?
I would assume if you are working at like behind the counter in a gas station, you have something better.
Oh yeah, dude. At least a bat. At the very least,
a bat.
A Louisville Slugger.
But probably you should get a gun.
Yeah.
If you're working at a gas station. That just feels like if there's anyone that needs a gun, it's a gas station clerk if I've seen enough violent movies.
At least, at the very least, get yourself some some bulletproof glass, like
Yeah.
at the very least.
Yeah. While some might see the circumstances surrounding the fruit fight to be amusing and their absurdity, the outcome of the odd showdown was no laughing matter, as the customer ultimately wound up needing to be hospitalized, and Budhat Hoki has been charged with recklessly endangering another person and aggravated assault for the fruit fight that went wildly awry.
He gets blasted in the face with a banana and then gets punched, and then he's the one that almost goes to jail.
I feel like if someone throws a banana at you and punches you in the face, it's fair game.
Also, your inability to say this man's name makes me think this could be a hate crime. You can't throw a banana like that at a man like this. Are you kidding me?
It could have been. It could have been.
Incredible.
I have a lot of difficulty saying most words.
Oh,
So
and you had multiple chances to say it, and
and it didn't get better.
it never got
It
better.
did not get
that
better.
first one was bad.
Yeah, I struggle sometimes, but that's okay, Chris, because our audience is fantastic and they don't get mad at me. Well, that was the banana brawl. Be careful if you're bringing bananas into gas stations. Could be a deadly weapon.
I'm taking the clerk's side on this one, dude. You're gonna get a PVC beat down if you throw a banana at me. And
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
even talking about the punch.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Well, I hope justice is served and he makes it out without any charges.
I hope
Well, Chris-
justice is served as a banana split.
Hey, that's something. That's something right there. Some quick housekeeping, Chris. You can support the show at patreon.com/coast to coast PM. You can email me cpmpod@gmail.com, and you can find Chris on Reddit or coast to coast PM. And with that, let's just start the show, man. Let's get
Let's
into some
go.
Connie Willis. We haven't heard from
Yeah.
Connie in a while.
Baby Connie.
And
What
her
up,
friend
girl?
Nancy.
What up, Connie?
And Nancy, as someone who's experienced aliens coming and taking her, we do have to learn what she calls herself, how she identifies. Does she identify as a contactee or an abductee? And this is an important delineation in the alien community.
Okay.
A former, that's the big difference here, right? Okay, so you're a contactee, abductee. What do you like to call yourself?
I am a contactee, lifelong contactee, which means all through my life I've had face-to-face physical visitations and experiences with positive extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings. So everything, I have nothing unkind or no scary stories to tell, other than it was different at times. And yes, being human, I was a little scared, but it was nothing on their part. It was just me getting used to the idea of and acceptance of it all.
Just something about a Southerner saying contactee. That's just beautiful. It's
gotta get
just
a ring to it.
beautiful. Oh, contactee.
But I do love that identification, though, of like, do you think it's bad or good? If it's good or you don't mind it, then you're a contactee, or you aren't necessarily like against it. But if you're an abductee, getting abducted, very negative connotation.
Right. Yeah.
You don't want to be
no,
abducted.
That makes sense. Funnily enough, we've done 90 episodes or something like that. I feel like I've never heard a distinction between contactee and abductee.
That may be my fault. I maybe just didn't clip it.
Yeah, that must have been your fault. I feel like we've never really heard that because I was like, oh, wow, yeah. Now that they're talking about it, it makes total sense. Like to be abducted versus to be contacted. Very different situations in those two words.
Yeah, like Whitley Strieber getting taken out of his room and probed. He was not really vibing that. More of an abductee situation. If you are talking to the Syrians about how you're going to go on their mothership to film a 40-day documentary, that's more of a contactee situation.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're getting poked, prodded, or things inserted into you, that is almost certainly an abduction.
Unless you're into it.
Unless you like it.
If you're into it, could be a contactee.
Could we have an induction in which you like it, but the aliens meant for you not to like it?
I'm sure that's possible. I'm not going to yuck other people's yum.
Yeah. No, this was a contacting. I'm telling you right now. I was contacted.
I hadn't been touched in so long. I didn't mind it was aliens.
This was contacted, not abducted. I promise.
I mean, listen, according to many of these individuals, they're mainly going after your sperm and your eggs. So
Right.
depending on the situation, some people enjoy it. I don't know.
The aliens just like throw you out by your britches out of the UFO without even stopping.
This guy was way too into it. We have to get rid of him.
This was weird. This was
He kept looking me in the eyes. I was very uncomfortable the whole time.
bad choice.
Well, let's find out what's so scary about these aliens that she's talking about.
Used to, and for me, it's not what they look like. It's the frequency exchange between us. Human beings are at a very low frequency, and they are at a much higher frequency, and I can feel that, and I'm sure other people can too. And that, for me, is what's hard to understand because it's feelings that you've never felt before.
Dealing with frequencies here. We've dealt with frequencies before. We know about frequencies.
Yeah, I still don't know what it means.
They're vibrating, Paul, at a higher frequency than us. The vibrations.
It drive like what is the? I can't nail it down. I guess I just need to experience it. I don't know what it means to be around someone at a higher frequency and be uncomfortable with their frequency.
You haven't been around somebody that you were like, man, this person is more enlightened than I am.
Is that a frequency thing?
I feel like they do vibe at a slightly different frequency. I mean, it's only happened to me a few times in my life, but you know, you just meet that person, you're like, and for me, I think we have a tendency to think, well, they're vibrating at a higher level, right? And so that the vibration is more intense. And I think it's actually going to be a much different thing, and that an entity that does vibrate at a higher level would be more soothing for the most part.
I'm just, I don't know. I am imagining this very literally. So you're saying literally they will vibrate at a higher frequency if they're more enlightened. Like if I meet some guru on the street, will his body be vibrating at a different frequency?
Yeah, somewhat. Yes. I would think it would be slightly, in that they are still human.
What's unnerving about that, though? That seems nice.
I'm arguing that this would be nice. I wouldn't be. I would hope, maybe if you don't, just coming across this and not having this kind of belief structure ideation, it would be kind of terrifying, right? It would be like coming across a biblical prophet today, right? Dressed in animal skins, eating locusts and honey, and they're like yelling about God and the salvation of man. It would be terrifying to see that, but in a different context, it would make total sense.
Well, if they're vibrating at a higher frequency, that's going to be more energetic, which is going to increase their core body temperature. So they're probably going to run hot, much like the werewolves in Twilight. So be on the lookout for that. I just brought it back to Twilight.
This is what I'm saying. You are focusing on the vibration being higher, and you're higher doesn't necessarily mean more frequent.
Yes, it does. That's how frequencies work. That's how waves work.
I think it will be different in that. In that maybe like the waves are higher, right? Not necessarily that they are more frequent. We're like dealing with like troughs and whatever.
Frequency in the word.
I understand that, but I think you're focusing too much on like that is like, oh, I'm just going to be like blasted in the face by this person. And that's what I'm arguing, that's not what's going to be happening. I think that truly higher frequent individuals will be more soothing in that their frequency is more attuned to the universal center.
Okay.
And so we are tuned much slower, much lower, much much more infrequent than somebody who would be at a higher frequency because they're closer to the universal thrum than we are.
Well, then I don't think higher frequency is the right term. I think then we're basically describing like an FM radio where you have to get tuned in. So it could be lower or higher. You have to find the right frequency.
I think
so they're better tuned in that scenario.
I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with that because yeah, you could be totally right. What if you were too close to the Big Bang and you're actually tuned too high?
It's like when you hit a note next to a wine glass and you like hit that perfect resonance and the wine glass starts vibrating. That's what happens when you hit the right frequency.
Right. You only want the vibrate though. You don't want the shatter.
You don't want the shatter.
And you don't want nothingness. You want that joker to be filled with the energy of the sound, but so that it does not destroy the being.
Yeah, you're tuning to the universe, much like a magical staff in D&D takes a couple hours to get through it. Let's jump into the next portion, Chris, because we've been on this tune for too long, far too long. This is not sleep paralysis, is what they really want to get across. Okay, Nancy is not having night terrors. This is real.
Always.
And it's fight or flight, except that they can paralyze you, and that sleep paralysis, not some, sleep paralysis in therapy. We'll tell you we're all sleep doctors. No. This is a contactee, abductee type thing, and they will freeze you. And that's just the way it is. So you don't have to worry. I mean, your inside might be trying to run, and you're like, I'm trying to run, but I can't do it. That's what sleep paralysis is, right?
Yeah, I've had that happen. Yeah, you can't speak, you can't move.
I love that Connie does my intonation about, like smart liberals, Oh, it's just sleep. We're all sleep doctors now. I was like, yes, Connie.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically Connie Willis after listening to this. Yeah, you're Connie Willis. I also love that she's like, oh, they all think it's sleep paralysis. Like, it's only that you can't like move or like you're stuck in your body, but you're terrified. I'm like, yeah, that's sleep paralysis. You're describing sleep paralysis.
You just described sleep paralysis.
And then our guest Nancy's like, yeah, I've had that happen. I'm like, yeah, that's because you're having sleep.
That's because you suffer from chronic sleep paralysis.
As someone that's had a sleep paralysis and night terror before, that's what that is.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, okay. We're really beating around the bush here. I want to hear some actual contacts.
Well, we have to keep beating around the bush because mostly this is Connie complaining about normies.
We're only beating the bush.
We'll get to the contacts in a second.
The whole episode is bush beating.
No, it's not even a bush beating. It's Connie complaining about normies. So let's get into another clip of this.
Okay. All right. Show me why she's complaining.
They got an agenda. Absolutely. Yeah. They have a plan of attack, and people don't know that unless they are in that world. That's why when some people are like, they put their hand up to your face, it's because they have nothing to do with it. It is not anywhere in their family. They have no, reference to it. However, if it's in your family somewhere, or maybe it's you are interested in this situation and this information. I think if you're curious at all, there's a reason.
I have no idea what she's talking about.
She's basically saying that most people are going to ignore it and are going to ignore alien abduction stories. But if you or someone else has been abducted, then you really care about it.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what she's saying.
It's the Republicans were against gay marriage until Dick Cheney said, yo, I'm into gay marriage because I have a gay daughter.
Mm-hmm.
It's
The
like,
exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
The exact same thing.
It's like, I don't give a crap about alien abductions, mostly because I don't think they're actually happening. But the other reason is nobody in my family's been abducted. Maybe, Paul, if you got abducted and started saying about it, maybe I'd be super into it. And I'd be like, maybe there's something into this. Or I would be like, maybe Paul is finally going crazy like I always knew he eventually would.
We've been waiting for this moment. Let's finally throw him away.
I'm going to do my best to get you committed no matter what actually happens. Like, you could actually be, like, visited nightly by aliens, and I'm like, we're getting this guy committed for sure.
Honestly, sure. I feel like I would thrive in an institution. I
would go lib normie, like, what were they? The gorilla Wikipedia kids, guerrilla tactics, or whatever the hell they were called.
Dude, the guerrilla skeptics of Wikipedia.
Yeah. I would become one of them so quick if you started talking about your contacts, dude, immediately.
Oh my God. That would be a ton of fun. I wish I would be abducted. All right. We got one last clip of Connie. Then we're gonna get
Paul from Coast to Coast AM has a big forehead and is a big dum-dum and poops his pants on regular occasions.
But, it's still hard to get work at like me, because like getting work outside of talking about Bigfoot and ETs and UFOs, man, some of the working world, they just think you're a nutcase. No, I'm not going to talk to you. And you and I both know, as well as so many people here listening, that no, we have the guts enough to talk about what is so true out there that you have no idea about, because you're so busy into either the phones, the games, politics, or, whatever. And, that's just the way it is.
Had Connie gotten in trouble recently? Like, what is she doing?
I know she seriously was bitching the first hour of the show. It was just her complaining.
It's just like, what is stupid people think I'm dumb because I like the Bigfoot and I like angels? I'm a stupid person. You're the dumb person. You're the stupid person that doesn't know about those things and shadow people. You know about them, and you say I'm dumb because I like them.
It's like you're on Coast to Coast AM right now. No one listening is on the other side of this issue.
No.
Who are you talking to?
Who are you yelling about?
It honestly felt like she got a mean email and she just like wanted to go off.
It was as if the preacher was like, yes, I'm only going to preach to the choir.
Yes, pretty much.
That's the only people I'm talking to right now is the choir.
Yeah. And I also just love this idea of like, oh, people like won't hire you for other jobs after you talk about Bigfoot for years. And it's like, yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Gotta get pigeonholed.
In fact, like we should probably be fired from our jobs for talking about this. About any of this.
I actively talk about a lot of this at work and they all look at me weird. And you know what? That's okay.
It's all right.
That's the cross I have to bear.
Somebody's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to take that cross all the way up that hill, plug it into the hole next to the two prisoners, whatever, criminals.
Wow, this is beautiful. Really, coming up after Easter, you really knew your Jesus story there, buddy. Someone's got to carry that cross and put it in the hole.
Put it in the hole and climb up there and get their hands and feet nailed into that old wooden cross. It's rugged.
We're just going to pivot. We're going to pivot now and go right into some stories, Chris. So starting off, Nancy, our interviewee who hasn't gotten to talk a ton, worked for the DoD as a civilian army member, at which point she was introduced to 3D imaging. Now, this is going to be relevant, so let's listen in.
And so, but the thing is that now I see where this coming in contact with this technology at the time is instrumental now, because the very minute that I got back from Mexico on a trip with my son, that the interdimensionals instigated for us to go down to Mexico to meet an indigenous tribe there. But basically, when I got back, then that's when the Mexico was having their inaugural hearings on those Nazca mummies that were presented. And they were presented by a guy, I can't think of his name, but he's not considered to be very valued, like in what he presents and stuff. So it was highly, highly questioned that it was all fake and stuff. But what I was interested in as I watched each of these hearings, on YouTube every day live, was I wanted to see the scientific evidence. I wanted to see how they were doing their scientific evidence. And the fact that they were using 3D imaging, that just really went ding ding in my mind, because that's something that I had learned about. And so as they were presenting it and showing the x-rays and stuff, I could see that what they were presenting, there was no foul play involved in that.
Oh, excellent. It was the real deal, right? You're saying
it was the real deal.
Real deal. Nazca mummies, real deal.
Do you remember those stupid mummies?
Oh, dude, of course I remember them.
That is the moment that I knew this lady was full of it. I was like, that is some nonsense. If she's like, oh, I understand 3D imaging because I worked in the Army, and those were definitely real.
Do you think this woman actually worked for the DOD?
I think that she was a civilian contractor on a base. I don't like there's an enormous amount of people that work for the DOD.
Right.
Because the Department of Defense hires an enormous number of people. It doesn't mean that you have any sort of clearance or knowledge.
Executive admin or something.
Which is what I think that this lady was doing. I think that she was just doing something on a base.
Right.
I mean, we have family members who are not the smartest tools in the shed who technically work for the DOD.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Okay. So anyway, Nazca mummies are real. So everyone take that to the bank. We have legit alien mummies on the planet Earth.
We do, which is great. And Connie has a theory about that is very eloquent and exciting.
So what if you were in that position that they purposely, not they, the ET, but they, the military, knew that you were an abductee, and they said, okay, we're going to take her, we're going to put her here, and we're going to get some information from her via them, get information from the ET via you. So they know you're an abductee. Somehow you're on some sort of list. She's an abductee. We're going to give her this position, and we're going to learn this 3D imaging. And maybe really they learned that from you via you from the ET. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Holy crap. That was convoluted.
Did that make sense to you?
So she was saying that the extraterrestrial knew that Nancy knew about 3D imaging. And so then the alien then knew about 3D imaging and then told the US government about 3D imaging so that the Mexican government could do 3D imaging on the Nazca mummy aliens.
I think so. I think that was pretty close.
The aliens are third-party contractors also for the DOD.
And also apparently are into the mummies.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I just feel like there's simpler ways of notifying us that aliens are real. Like coming down.
And that they didn't know about 3D imaging? They just went across the galaxy.
I mean, it's complicated stuff, Chris.
They just went across solar systems. Light years and light years. And they needed to scan this woman's brain to figure out how to do 3D imaging. They couldn't figure that one out with all their big brains and getting across the universe. They got across the universe and didn't know about 3D imaging.
That clip was so convoluted. I don't even know if that was what she meant. I got lost in it, and I've listened to it 3 times.
Sometimes you just get lost in the sauce, man, and that's all right. I've got lost in the sauce too, Connie.
We all just get too excited sometimes. But let's hear a little bit about what it's like to get abducted, because apparently this lady can sense that she's about to get taken.
I have this ability where I can sense right before I'm going to be have a visitation. I can feel it. I can feel it on the inside. I can just tell. And so I felt it happening, but these were not the three grays that come for me. This was totally different, and the whole way that I got on craft was everything was different about it, and the memories were more fragmented because they did kind of have me in a sleep paralysis. But when I got on craft, there were human beings, female human beings running around, and some grays, and they basically were saying, "Take her back, take her back." So I think that was kind of a pretend abduction that was done by military and some grays.
And what would the pretend part be for?
Well, the research for them, probably because they knew that I am a contactee, and they were, or either just maybe because of where I was, it was easy to access without other people seeing.
People with epilepsy, many of them report that right before they have a epileptic shock, that they smell lightning. They smell like burning, kind of a weird metallic burning smell. And I'm wondering if that is what's happening to Nancy. I wonder if she is is having epileptic seizures, and that's how she's able to tell when she's about to be contacted, is that she's kind of going into a seizure.
I mean, it's not a terrible guess because it felt like she hadn't thought any of this through at all, because Connie hit her with what is a pretty major softball of why would they do that? Because she created a scenario where the US government is working with grays to abduct me. Connie's follow-up is why? And then her response is, I don't really know. I guess maybe it was convenient or they wanted to experiment. And which doesn't really provide a good answer. I think epilepsy provides a much stronger answer to why are these nonsensical things occurring to you right now.
Yes.
So I don't know. But here's another piece, Chris. SETI sucks, and they really don't like SETI.
But you also said this. You put SETI, SETI, the SETI does not comprise the real search for intelligent extraterrestrial life. And you talk about the real research is basically talking to people that are contactees, abductees, experiencers, lifers, anybody that has seen anything. Thank you very, very much. I don't know how SETI gets all that money, and good for them, but it's here. They're already here. They're here.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much misinformation, and that's what's so sad, and that's why I feel like it's important for me to reveal what I know. They are here now, and they've been waiting for us to reach higher consciousness so that we were at an intellectual level that we understand they are not gods. They are not the angels.
We've been looking for signs of intelligent life coming out of the SETI organization for 3 decades, Paul, and we're still looking.
I love SETI, though.
They try.
I don't like people hating on SETI.
They try. Listen, when they lost the radio observatory at Arecibo, dude, I'm still heartbroken about it. The sense of wonderment that was needed, and for the good coaster heads, they'll remember we did a Tim time about SETI attempting to decode whale language, and I thought that was such a perfect project for them to take on, because they need to give us some kind of sense of wonderment to help kind of penetrate the memosphere when it comes to, the general normie attitudes. And if they're not doing anything, and we may find out that just blasting and listening to radio signals wasn't the best time, but as far as I know, and anybody else, it's just as good as an attempt to find life as anything else, right? Like we may find out in the future it really wasn't, but I think it is. I think it's good enough, but they need to be doing things to inspire humanity to look to the stars. So,
Yeah. I always think about what if there's some other way of communication, like some like quantum level vibrations that are constantly being sent out. We just don't know to look for them. And
quantum entangling, dude.
yeah,
I mean,
we're
that's
all
what
just
it
being
is.
bombarded with
Yeah,
signals from other planets saying like, hey, we're
constantly.
here. Is there anyone else there? And
Yeah.
we don't know to look because like we didn't know to look for radio signals until 100 years ago.
And there's probably some way though to ensure the confidentiality of electron twinning communications. So even if we could like see that there was a communication, we probably wouldn't be able to view it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, none of that really matters, Chris, unless we know what these aliens are. So
Quantum encryption, dude, that's a sweet sci-fi idea, dude.
well, actually, so I've been watching the show The Peripheral, which actually has one of the more interesting ideas about time travel.
Already watched it, dude. I love it.
Have you?
Yeah,
it was
it's
great.
incredible.
I just
I
ordered
think
the
I
book.
told you to watch it.
Did you?
I'm pretty sure.
You might have done that on this show. Well, I just watched it. I think it's great. I bought the book. Genius time travel idea where it's you're just doing a data transfer instead of physically traveling through time. It's very smart.
Good stuff. That's good stuff.
Great stuff. Well, let's find out what these aliens are.
They are simply beings that are billions of years ahead of us in evolution. And this is nothing new to them. They've seen other beings throughout universes and galaxies go through this very same thing. And basically, they've just been waiting for us to reach this level. And we are right now, we're at a pivotal moment. And this is the greatest time for humanity, for all human beings to be alive, because nothing like this has ever happened for humanity since the existence of time. We are finally reaching higher spiritual evolution. And when I say spiritual evolution, I'm not saying we're picking a specific religion or anything. It's more than religion. We're understanding who we are, why they are here in our place in the cosmic realm. We are very unique and very important. And we are all connected to everything on this planet, including planet Earth.
I do kind of buy that there is essentially a stepping stone, that if there was some kind of planetary alliance, some kind of confederation of planets, a galactic empire of some sort, that you wouldn't be invited in until you hit some kind of thresholds.
Yes. Because I also think about the way that
I don't think we're there.
We're
there. So I would be contradicting Nancy, but all that to say is that I do kind of like, if there is a government of planets, there would have to be some kind of entrance of new beings, right? Like new civilizations.
There's an application process.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it would make sense. And it would also make sense to have some sort of barrier to entry, depending on how common sentient life is in the universe. I think the less common it is, the less likely you're going to have a barrier to entry. But if it's all over the place, then there's like all right, y'all, we can't just let anyone in. We need to wait for them to get to a certain level. But I think that if there's like 5 other species out there, they may just be stoked to have another sentient species
group. But again, I still think that there would be a point in which they would come talk to that species, come talk to us.
Yeah.
For instance, right? Like, they weren't going to come to us today. They're not coming to us 1,000 years ago or 150,000 years ago. I think that we have to go through a certain number of keyholes, some certain very particular keyholes that, again, I don't know what they are, but I would imagine one of them would be intergalactic travel. That would be a pretty important one to figure out before somebody got invited into an intergalactic confederation. Are you kidding me? And you can't even travel across the thing? We can't even make it to Mars. We're not even going to the moon anymore.
We can't get out of our own neighborhood. They're not going to invite us across the country.
We thought it was huge news when we got out of our solar system with a small little dinky satellite.
That was big news.
It was huge. I thought
it was very exciting.
For me personally, that's one of my keyholes.
We got something out of our own solar system. We did it.
Through human ingenuity and prowess, sent a box through the heavens outside of the heliosphere that is our sun, and it transmitted data back to us.
As it slowly died.
That's a keyhole, baby.
That's a keyhole. That feels like a keyhole.
That's a keyhole.
Did something get out of the neighborhood? We got something out of the neighborhood.
And so maybe that did. Maybe that was like, all right, well, now we can start doing contactee stuff and stop doing abductee stuff.
Well, let's find out about this keyhole that Nancy says we have to go through.
They're waiting on overall. This is not a one like the United States thing. This is not a particular country. This is a worldwide phenomenon.
This is Earthlings.
All of humanity. And they're waiting for all of humanity to reach higher consciousness and understanding. And we are here on free will. And there are certain levels of cosmic law that they will not overstep with us. So now that does not mean that there hasn't been a couple races that have done what people call abductions and things like that. Those things are real. I know those things have happened, but they were kind of a offshoot and not part of the collective consciousness of all the positive and interdimensionals. So, and when they did those things and broke the cosmic law and overstepped the boundaries of humanity, they were no longer considered part of the overall program of waiting for humanity to grow up, so to speak.
Dude, love the idea of cosmic law. Love the idea of like, there's like an actual code somewhere, like a code book, and it's like section 102-3-472 states that you have broken cosmic law by abducting a human before they shall be abducted on the primary date therefore specified.
Like some sort of military tribunal made up of various alien races, all judging like one dude who captained a UFO. That's good lore.
That's good stuff, dude.
That's
love it.
Fun.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's what it's like, the cosmic law book.
Yeah. Now here's my problem though. It sounds like she was saying that entire species were excommunicated, right?
It did sound like that.
So what kind of centralized authority do all of these species have? It sounds kind of autocratic.
It does sound autocratic, unless it's like a democratic motion, right? But I'd also be curious as to finding out, what does it mean to be ostracized by this group? Like, are you placed in isolation? Or are you still able to trade? You just don't have the benefits of being like a internal member.
It almost sounded like you couldn't take part in the research that was being done and the general waiting for humanity. But like, how does that really hurt you? You just don't have to deal with humans? You have to watch us crawl?
Doesn't
feel like a punishment. You don't have to take care of the babies.
Yeah, I don't have to watch them pick their butts and scratch their noses.
Like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like a terrible thing.
Oh my God. Like, oh no. We don't get to interact with smelly, stinky humans.
So, I don't know. We'll see, Chris. But she does know a little bit about the Greys. You want to hear about the Greys?
Let's hear about the Greys.
Interesting. What do
Yeah.
you know? What can you tell us about the Grays, tall and
The
short?
Greys. Well, there's a bunch of different races, and they are biological, and there's a hybrid race of them, and I am assigned to three hybrids. One of them is a female, and she is a brownish reddish color, and she's been with me since birth, and she is the go-between. She's the one that comes to get me from my home and takes me to craft. And then once I get on craft, then I don't see her anymore, or the other two with her, and I don't really have interactions with them, but they always travel in threes. And then while I'm on craft, I'll see interdimensionals, which are human-like looking extraterrestrials, but they are definitely not completely human. And I see the tall Greys, and then I see like Nordics, or they have like the white hair, and they're very tall. And I've seen some aquatic beings and just different types. There's usually, when you're with the positive group of extraterrestrials, you'll be around more than just one race. And I've been around some positive reptilians as well.
I mean, the lore mostly tracks.
I want more info on the aquatic beings. What does
definitely.
that mean?
Big time.
Are we talking about like that dude in Hellboy?
That was my immediate thought.
Yeah,
the fish man.
Or is this
fish
like,
boy.
or is this like an actual fish in a tank
that
is watching you?
And that would be incredible too.
Because that would be really cool.
They have to move everywhere in tanks.
Yeah,
that would be incredible. Just like giant floating tanks of water, and there's just like a being floating inside of it. That's messed up. I like that.
That's pretty good lore too.
Yeah,
she needs to elaborate on the aquatic beings.
That's terrifying. I don't think that's what she was thinking of.
Yeah,
I don't think that's what Nancy was thinking of.
It was more Hellboy.
Yeah, I think it was more Hellboy.
Yeah, just a dude with gills who's still bipedal.
Yeah, a human with gills.
Yeah, okay. Well, when I write my sci-fi novel, there's going to be a spooky tank filled with scary ass fish.
Oh yeah, dude, and it can't just be water too. It's got to be some terrifying, like, conglomerate of like, bestial bio matter. Just
can you
awful.
imagine if we just got invaded by fish creatures?
Yeah, legit.
That would suck so hard.
Oh, dude, and just everything stinks like fish food.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all just clammy all the time.
He who controls the oceans controls the world.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. All right. Well, there we go. The aquatic beings.
For our last clip, Chris, Connie's wondering, won't it take forever for the whole world to wake up? That seems like it would take a while.
That will take forever for the entire planet to be ready and go, they're here. That would take forever. That's going to take a long time. Not during our lifetime, I don't think.
I think it'll be sooner than you think. I think it'll be sooner than you think, because I can see our world is changing. Our world is changing vastly. Things are happening really, really fast. And it's going to start happening faster and faster. And I think our awareness is just going to really start speeding up. And that's the thing about it, from what I have been told and what they have showed me, is it happens, but our awareness of it it's just going to happen, and it's going to seem like it's always been that way.
But how are we going to do it? Are we? And I can understand that. Is it because somebody does?
You and I are doing it right now by people listening to us. We're raising their awareness and their consciousness.
That's what we got to do, dude. We're all spreading the word one day at a time.
And that's what we're doing too. We are spreading the awareness and spreading consciousness so that we can ascend or have them descend. I don't really understand what the end goal is, but
amen, brother.
Yeah.
We're all just trying to vibrate at a higher frequency, Paul.
That's the end goal. We vibrate correctly.
Yes.
So that we can be friends with aliens.
Maybe that's the final keyhole. Once you're vibrating at that perfect galactic frequency, the eternal hum that vibrates in all of us at all times. We just barely vibrate at that frequency. We are tuned to the dial, to the radio FM frequency 104.7, the beat. It's always on. But that being said, we're like at 98.6 right now.
Yeah.
And you're listening to classical music. And that's not what you want to be on. You're trying to get back to 104.7, the beat.
Yeah.
It's party time, baby.
Stop listening to Fresh Air, okay?
Yes.
We need some LMFAO.
Yes.
Well, Chris, on a scale of 1 to 5 street prophets who are perfectly vibrating with the universe, what do you give our girl, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm going to give Nancy like a 3 because it was a little childish in points. And honestly, I don't think Connie was doing that good of a job. So the Connie was not a good wingman, not a Scottie Pippen or a Dennis Rodman. I mean, really atrocious job interviewing on Connie's part. I'm sorry, Connie. I love you. I really do. But so I'm going to give Nancy a 3. I feel like that's fair. She was directionally right so many times. And I know that you kind of like trying to poke holes into her thing. But for me, she was mostly directionally right. And like the lore she's got to go more in depth and she's got to connect some of those loose dots. But I think she's on her way to something here.
Yeah. Well, poking holes is my thing, Chris. That's kind of my whole bit on this show.
I'm aware.
But I gotta give her 1. I felt like she hadn't thought about basic questions, which is like Connie would ask the hard hitting follow up of why, and then she would be flustered. And I'm like, you got to think about why something's happening. Like it doesn't even need to make sense. Just have some sort of answer.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think she can get there. She just needs to work on the lore.
Yeah.
Maybe she just doesn't get interviewed a lot. This may have been like her first big interview. I don't really know.
I'm still unsure why she's getting interviewed.
It's a great question. It's because she worked on an army base at one point.
Because like never hawked a book or a podcast, or at least she didn't play it. So I'm unsure what this woman has. I'm not even sure she has a Twitter.
The only thing she was bringing to the table is she worked for the DOD, quote unquote.
Why are we talking to her? I have no idea.
Know. That's some of the guests they get sometimes. Well, it's like George Knapp brought on someone that he just found on Twitter.
Yeah. Well, at least that guy though had like a whole Wikipedia thing and wasn't just like having epileptic seizures in which they're seeing gray people.
Yeah. And the grays aren't even gray. They're different colors.
I liked the reddish brown one, dude. And I just wanted to comment on that too, now that you're bringing it up. It's really nice that they give us a lifelong being.
Yeah, that is
to stay with us.
Mm-hmm.
I would be upset if I had to just go run through a series of alien mediators.
There has to be really low churn in that job for someone to be the account manager for this lady for that long, though. They have to stick around. They can't be floating out, you know?
Yeah, you're stuck with the one person. And, it's just like, how do you get vacations in?
Yeah.
How do you get, if they do
where's
go
the
on
upward
vacation,
mobility? Are you not getting promoted?
Ooh, good. Well, we got to think this is probably much more communistic. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry to say it, but it's probably a much more communistic society.
Mm.
So for whatever reason, this reddish brown but gray alien is in love with humans for some reason. Like really likes humans. Maybe her dad was a human or something. So
I don't know. Well, we'll have to leave it there, Chris, with that wonderful mystery. This has been Coast to Coast PM. We will be back with more next week on Thursday. We're back in the saddle. Really excited for it. You can support the show at patreon.com/Coast to Coast PM. And that'll be all.
All conspiracy all the time. Later.